This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
So, it's the same. So, Attack of the Clones and,
Phantom Menace?
are the same. And then I like Return of the Jedi, The New Hope, and Empire.
So, what's the next movie you want to see of the movies you've already seen?
I think Rogue One.
Nice try. We're not going to see Rogue One yet for a while.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Nice try, Mason Z. Rogue One is not quite in your lane just yet, but someday, of course. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, rhetoric, and the best travel tips this side of the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my Galactic Nights 2016 coffee mug. Coffee with Kenobi is brought to you by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. For all of your travel needs to the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines, as well as anywhere you want to go on vacation, be sure to go to www.mousefantravel.com, the official travel agency of Coffee with Kenobi. On CWK, I invite you to join me as we think about the mythology of Star Wars in a whole new way, and maybe laugh a little bit in the process. You are here with your Star Wars family as we go to our favorite coffee shop and talk Star Wars. On today's show, we have part one of our exclusive interview with Clayton Sandell as he has been to Batuu. That's right, he has walked the grounds of Galaxy's Edge, and he has a lot of amazing stuff to tell us. The embargo is lifted, and it is safe to spread the word about what he has experienced in Galaxy's Edge. And then Tom will have the latest Star Wars news. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
With the onset of Celebration Chicago comes a series of plans and ideas of how to best bring you the most coverage for Celebration Chicago. Whether you're going to be at the event or listening from home, we want you to feel like you are a part of the CWK celebration experience. And one idea that we have surrounds our CWK podcast stage appearance. And as of right now, at the time of this recording, we do not have an official time and date just yet, but we do know that during the podcast stage, we're going to be doing a CWK selfie that will be showcased on all of our social media channels. So what you can do is grab a CWK Celebration Chicago Royal Blue Tee from our Tee Public store, and you can wear it at our podcast stage appearance alongside myself, Tom Gross, Corey Clubb, and a number of other guests who will be joining us for this awesome event we are very excited about. If you will be listening to the show from home and you can't make it to the event, you can still join us using the hashtag CWK Selfie. That's capital C, capital W, capital K, and then selfie, S-E-L-F-I-E. We all want you to feel like you're very much a part of this experience because you are certainly a part of our CWK family.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a heaping cup of coffee is the one and only Clayton Sandell.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It is going well, sir. Not as well probably as you, because you have just arrived from a very long space journey. Tell us all about Galaxy's Edge. You've been there.
I have been to Batuu and back. Ask me anything. Yes, we may need 2 cups of coffee for this show. I mean, it's there's a lot to talk about.
Well, just that sentence you just uttered was like an extra jolt of caffeine anyway. I mean, what are your initial impressions like of Batuu? I mean, you've got to walk the holy ground.
Yeah, it's incredible. It was I have welts from all of the times that I pinched myself walking through the streets. I mean, it's so well done, and it's so, it's unfinished. I mean, this is an active construction site at the moment when we saw it, and there are a lot of things that are not done. There are a lot of things that are far from being finished, but there are a lot of things that are actually pretty close, and appearance wise from the outside look so good. I mean, a lot of the buildings are painted. Some of them aren't, but a lot of the buildings are painted in the finishes that they're going to have, and they're now adding little details and filling in. I think we saw painters filling in cracks and blaster holes in the walls and
Oh,
things
wow.
like that, and a lot of the buildings um, have 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 Arabic symbols and writing and all of these things on them that really you step into it and you absolutely feel like you have entered a Star Wars world. And even with the modern day construction crews running around and trucks beeping and backing up and guys carrying stuff here to there and having to step over muddy puddles, because the day we were there was just the day after a pretty substantial Southern California rainstorm. So, parts of it are a mess, and many of the roads and pathways are still not paved yet at all. It's all still dirt back there, so lots of mud. Like I said, it's a work in progress, but it is just so cool. And so we got to just kind of walk you through it here. We started out
Because you were on a part of a nice media event, really. Yeah, kind of walk us through that.
Sure. So the media event, there were some journalists who were invited to get kind of a very early preview, I guess you would call it, of Galaxy's Edge, and talk to all of the people who have been involved in the project from the creative side. So we started off on Wednesday of that particular week, meeting with at Lucasfilm in the big theater there, talking to people from Imagineering, talking to people from the story group, Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, others were there, hanging out and sort of walking us through the creation of the land, how it all ties together, some of the technologies, all of those sorts of things. So we spent basically a day at Lucasfilm hearing from all of those folks. And then day 2 was down in Glendale, California, at the headquarters of Walt Disney Imagineering. And we got into more of the execution of all of these ideas and technologies. The Play Disney Parks app, which will play a pretty big role in all of this. And how some of the other technologies work. And then day 3 was the big day. Started off talking about something that's absolutely fascinating to me, which I know we're going to talk more about, but the foods that they're going to have in Galaxy's Edge. And then we got to spend about an hour and a half walking the site itself. We all boarded into a bus and drove around to the backstage area of Disneyland, and put on our hard hats and our goggles and our quite flattering orange and green neon safety vests, and they guided us back to the site itself.
It doesn't really get too much better than that. Now, you mentioned the food, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but while there's a lot of it that's very much in progress, did you get any kind of a sense of how much the weather is impacting construction and how that's going to kind of affect the potential opening date?
I don't think really the weather was a factor. I mean, right now there are hundreds of people there working on an around the clock. I mean, it's 24 hours. People aren't working 24-hour shifts, obviously, but they have multiple shifts working around the clock, and I think they are confident. They say they are where they want to be, but they admit there's still a lot to get done. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have not yet committed to an actual opening date.
Sure.
They don't want their biggest fear basically is that they'll announce an opening date. People will start planning travel and making reservations and taking vacation days. And then all of a sudden they have to move it back because something isn't finished. So they want to be sure that they are able to commit to an opening date. And so I think that's one of the reasons we just haven't heard anything yet. But I think that announcement will be coming fairly soon.
That makes sense. I mean, I know, I guess more, that question comes more from, I know in Florida, especially when they opened Pandora, the world of Avatar, the rain there very much impacted construction and moved things back months. Now, obviously, California doesn't even anywhere near the amount of rain or weather-related challenges that Florida does. But it certainly can be an issue, and it makes sense because like you said, they don't want everybody to pin down vacations and then be incredibly
Right.
disappointed. And
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like disappointment is going to be anything people will be talking about when we go to Batu. All right, let's just get the heavy question out there right away
Sure.
because this is what we're all dying to know. Is the Millennium Falcon as wonderful and glorious as we have imagined it to be?
So I, like you, have thought about and dreamed about the moment that you walk up to something like the Millennium Falcon and what that moment would be like. And
You can't see my
it
face right
lives
now, but it already hurts from smiling. You haven't even told
yeah,
me
oh
that.
yeah, it lives up to every expectation. It is a glorious sight. And I got to tell you, the way that they do it, you kind of come up, sight lines and reveals are everything, right? At Disney,
Oh
they
yeah.
do it so well. And the way that they do this is you kind of walk up a walkway under an arch, and the archway, you pass under it, and that kind of reveals the Falcon sitting there right in front of you. And that particular angle that the Falcon is set at that point is meant to mimic the same angle that it was in Docking Bay 94 the first time we all saw it up there
Wow.
on the screen. So there's like this visceral thing that happens. And I wrote about this. I was walking with my buddy Ryan Parker from the Hollywood Reporter, and Jermaine Lucier from Gizmodo, and the three of us were kind of walking together as we rounded this corner, and we all just sort of stopped and jaws dropped, and there may have been some open weeping as we look at this thing. I mean, it was incredible to see it there, and it's huge, it's big, it's so detailed. They've, everything is where you would expect it to be. It's the way it's framed by the buildings and the background is just absolutely incredible. It's like I said, we were basically three grown men standing there just weeping at this thing.
Oh, well, and how could you not? I mean, well, a few things. When you were going through what about to turn into to get the big reveal, did you know that was going to happen, and did they purposefully let you go in small groups so that everybody could have that moment by themselves, kind of?
It's funny, as we were walking up the walkway, they were taking us into the cantina first, and as we walked up and turned right to go into the cantina, I caught a glimpse of the cockpit, and I was like, "Oh, there it is, there it is!" And they were like, "No, in here first, in here first." And so we went into the cantina, and the cantina was awesome, and we can talk about that too. But all I wanted to do was get out of the cantina and get back out there to get to the Falcon, and I mean, it was, like I said, the way, talking about the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride, the way they have set up that queue line is you get to get very close to it and admire it from a couple of different angles and a couple of different levels. So the queue line, as you go in, you walk along the back of the Falcon. They're going to have some characters back there who are sort of talking about the Falcon, and then you get to go upstairs and see it out the window, so you're right there above the engine and the ports on the back and all of that cool stuff. And I had my own little you can't help but when you stand there looking at it, like all of these lines start coming back to you, right? That you remember from the films.
Sure.
And mine was, we were standing there, and a guy was in one of those it was like a platform that lifted him up, and it took him up sort of the top of the Falcon. He was a maintenance worker doing something, and I wanted to shout up to him. I wanted to say, no, that one goes there, that one goes there. Like, you can't help but get into this mode when you're around this ship and around this environment. It happens fast.
Oh my goodness. So, all right, so we are just scratching the surface of what Batu and Galaxy's Edge have to offer. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have much more with Clayton Sandell, the Millennium Falcon, and so much more in Batu. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Have you heard our latest CWK pour over? CWK pour over is so much fun for me to record, and you might be thinking, wait, what is CWK pour over? What am I listening to now? Well, now you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi, our weekly Star Wars podcast, but CWK pour over is also a weekly podcast that we have here on the Coffee with Kenobi network, but it is on our Patreon show, and it is hosted by myself, our original co-creator, Mr. Corey Clubb, who created Coffee with Kenobi alongside me. And then we have CWK newsman Tom Gross, who is integral to this show and so many other things we do on Coffee with Kenobi. And the three of us, when we get together, have an amazing time talking about popular culture, things in our lives. Of course, Star Wars comes up quite frequently. We have an absolute blast. In fact, I'd love to play a clip for you from a recent show. It just clearly showed camaraderie, friendship, and loyalty. And I'm just talking about these actors and the fact that they did this.
Right.
They accomplished this incredible goal of finishing the third film in a brand new Star Wars trilogy, and that they're going to be immortalized forever in cinematic history for being a part of the Star Wars saga. And look on Oscar Isaac's face was so touching, because he was clearly emotionally just putting it all out there on the line. And not that he was necessarily emotionally spent, but just there was so much joy and exhaustion and happiness. Like there were sincere tears. Like he was sad. Like you could tell he was sad that it was over. And John Boyega has this look of just pride, and you can't see Daisy's face, but they're all hugging and embracing. And just, I thought it was so beautiful and so touching, and such a love letter to the power of cinema and the camaraderie that happens in something like this. And then after Tom weighs in, I'm going to weigh in on some of the criticisms of the photo.
I have the same feelings as you did, Dan. What caught me the first time I saw the photo was Oscar Isaac's, expression on his face. And I felt like it was such a caught in the moment sort of photo because of that. And there's a part of me that wishes we could see the other side of that, to see Daisy Ridley's face, and I'm sure it reflects exactly what we saw in that. But it was, and I can't express any better than you did. I thought it was a beautiful photo as well.
As you just heard on that CWK pour over, which came out last Sunday, we talked about the reactions to the Episode 9 cast photo that JJ released on his Instagram and Twitter accounts, which I thought was really, really moving, as you just heard there. Tom and Corey weighed in. We also talk about Netflix canceling Jessica Jones and the Punisher series, and where Marvel might stand in the Disney Plus streaming service that will be coming out late at the end of this year. A lot of great stuff, but none of it is possible without our CWK Patreon contributors. Now, the people I'm about to name for you are the ones that are members of this CWK family who get access to CWK pour over. They are Rebecca Raven, Dennis Keithley, Terry Lee, Ben Elkington, Melinda Wolf, Aaron Harris, Chris Gavarka, Angela Sauce, Mediocre Jedi, Amy Mulder, Jim Capron, Yancey Evans, Caroline Naselli, Tim Bungaroth, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Jeff Ellis, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Jason Hall, Brian McKinney, Connie Shee, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. For just $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Pour Over. Again, it is our weekly podcast you can hear here on www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi. There also is a way for you to get t-shirts, coffee mugs, and so much more. You really help out the show with covering the travel expenses of running the website, releasing the podcast, and all the other things that go into creating Coffee with Kenobi and everything we have for you here on social media and beyond. So again, go to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up to be a CWK Patreon contributor today. We're back, and just the excitement that is just exuding from you, my friend, is just, it's so intoxicating. And we're just scratching the surface, as I said earlier, on Batuu and the Millennium Falcon. You mentioned the line queues. I was wondering about that. I'm assuming, I know that at Six Flags and Universal Studios and places like that, and sometimes a little bit in Disney, but not as much, they'll have videos and entertaining things there to sort of, help you along, because these lines can be overwhelming and really, really long. It sounds like the Falcon because of the way they've got it set up, just the experience of seeing this, the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy, that is serving a purpose. And you also mentioned characters as well.
Yeah, so they will have some characters. We're told, I believe they're going to be animatronic, who will be back toward the back of the Falcon, and there'll be little scenes playing out and things like that. There'll be characters milling about. There are things to do with the Disney Play app that you can kind of pass the time by using that app to do some things in the line to kind of role play a little bit. So yeah, there are things to do and things to keep you occupied. And the way that the Millennium Falcon line, Smugglers Run line, is set up is you kind of wind through Hondo Ohnaka's maintenance bay, essentially. So you're walking through, and the walkway kind of winds its way back and then up, so it takes you up a level. And as you do that, then you walk by the Falcon from up above, and then they take you into kind of a holding area. And I should say, we should warn people, spoilers, right? So if you don't want to hear any of this,
Sure.
We'll talk a little bit about spoilers. But you walk into this holding area, and that is when you first see Hondo, and he's kind of up on a platform, and he's talking to his droid and sort of explaining the point of this whole mission. And he looks amazing. He's the latest in Disney Imagineering animatronic technology. He's a model A1000, and he moves extremely realistically. He's waving his arms around, he's turning, he's pushing buttons, he's doing all these things, and he looks great. So from there, you're then divided into your flight crew group, and you're taken down a hallway. And the idea is that you're entering the Falcon through a docking port, and you step onto the Falcon. And again, I wanted to cry. I mean, it just sort of takes your breath away to see it in person. And it's the same scale, it's the same look, it's the same. You walk in there. I wanted to just touch every surface. It was kind of like, it reminded me, remember not too long ago, Diego Luna was talking about how he wanted to feel the texture of Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I wanted to touch everything inside here. So you walk down a hallway, and you come into the Falcon hold. The Dejarik table is there. The bunk is over in the corner. The engineering station where Han Solo sat in A New Hope is right there, and it's completely surreal to be in this room. But the great part about it is this is basically a holding room. So multiple flight crews of 6 basically get to hang out in that room until they're called. So you have time to explore this room. You can sit at the engineering table. You can go over to the Dejarik table. You can walk over to where the bunk is. You can sort of look around and touch and feel. And they encourage you to. This is where you have to take your million selfies before you get out of there. So you have some time to explore the Falcon hold, and which is great, because that was a question of mine. It's like, are you going to just be in a line walking through with a million other people? And there will be other folks in there getting ready to ride, but
because they know that's part of the experience. I mean, they want, because that's
part of it. Yeah.
About, guest satisfaction is paramount to Disney. Their order is typically safety, courtesy, show, efficiency, and they want to make sure that you get to have that guest satisfaction. So there will be opportunities for photo ops. Did you get a sense of about how long the wait will be in that area for people?
No, it's hard to say. And they're not talking about timing yet. They're very coy when it comes to, when you ask them questions like, how many people are you going to get through here in an hour? How long does the ride last? How long are you going to be here? How long are you going to be there? They're not really giving specifics like that.
They haven't timed it enough yet, probably.
Well, yeah, or they just don't want to say. And one of the things that one Imagineer did tell me was, the Millennium Falcon ride is similar in length to other attractions, which tells me it's about the length of, say, Star Tours. Once you get into the cockpit and are flying, that it would I think be sort of on par with that. But the fact is, we don't know yet.
Sure. So do you actually get to go up the famous ramp, or how does that come into play?
You do not get to go up the ramp. The way they've designed it, the idea is you kind of come in those side docking ports, so you're already up in the Falcon, and so you come in. You come in that docking port, you make a left turn, you kind of walk down a curved hallway, which puts you on the opposite side of where the Dejeric table entrance is, right? So you kind of have to walk across that room to get to the corridor that leads you to the cockpit.
That's glorious. Now, so that is the outside. We've got the exterior. Now, what about the cockpit itself?
The cockpit itself,
you get the call, right?
You get the call. You walk with your group of 6, and you go down the hallway, and it looks amazing, and it takes you forever because you're going slow and you want to look everything. But then you get into the cockpit, and you know that scene in The Force Awakens where Han walks into the cockpit again and he kind of just has that look on his face. That's exactly how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. And you kind of look around, and they're encouraging you to touch all the buttons and flip the switches and do all these cool things. And just by chance, I honestly didn't plan it like this, but just by chance, my buddy Ryan Parker and I were up in the pilot and co-pilot seats, and got to sit there while they gave a little spiel, and they didn't let us fly the ride. I think it's operational, but it's not quite ready for prime time. So it's everything you would expect it to be. You look out, and it was I was trying to imagine all of the scenes, and what people were looking at, and just trying to imagine all of those shots, and then like translating it, and then again pinching yourself and saying, wow, this is what they were looking at. This was their view. This is the Falcon cockpit. It's amazing. Right. And so the way they have it divided up is, and this was a big question, questions we all had was, how does this work? Because obviously everybody wants to fly the thing, right?
Yes.
So how do you make this ride something that everybody is going to enjoy? So the way that they have divided this up is the 2 pilots sit in the front. Obviously, they're steering the ship. The next 2 are gunners, so they're responsible for firing the cannons and warding off threats. And then as the ship takes fire and damage, the engineers are the last 2, and they have to they have a series of switches and buttons and things they have to do to help keep the ship in working order. So basically everybody has to work together to make this ride smoother, I guess.
Sure.
And one of our questions was, well, what if you have a jerk in the pilot seats who they want to ruin the ride for everybody? And what they've done is they've programmed that so that even if somebody is trying to crash the Falcon all the time, the ride, the programming is going to take over. They don't want the experience to be ruined for everybody. So the programming is going to take over, and they say that every ride is going to be a great ride, whether you are trying or not.
Well, that's the big thing, because what we've been hearing so much is the influence of, video game generation, and people are, oh my goodness, Ninja has made a living out of being great at video games and Fortnite. So it sounds like there are some fail safes in place that people who are not necessarily natural video game enthusiasts will still be able to enjoy this attraction.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, you can have the most wonderful, glorious lines in queues in the galaxy, but some people just don't want to wait in long lines. So it's good to know that there's some things in place.
Yep, they've got some programming built into it that they say the ride will not be ruined if you've got some people who aren't playing along.
And I can certainly see that happening. So yeah, that sounds like a good place for us to take a bit of a break. Clayton will come back next week and finish his early preview of Galaxy's Edge. We will look at the Rise of the Resistance attraction and some of the food and merchandise. So much to talk about with Galaxy's Edge. Clayton, thank you so much. We will go ahead and take a break. Coming up next, Tom has the latest Star Wars news. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Clearly, Galaxy's Edge is sounding pretty amazing, and you're going to want to start thinking about your travel plans to make it to Batuu. And the best way to do that is to go to www.milesfantravel.com. They have signature service and expert advice to help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. They will help your family enjoy everything the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines have to offer, will help plan every detail, and can share invaluable tips with you. Be sure to go to www.milesfantravel.com today and let them know Coffee with Kenobi sent you. We are here with the news. Tom, of course, this is the Galaxy's Edge show, part one of our Galaxy's Edge spectacular before we actually get to set foot on Batuu. But in the meantime, we have some Disney theme park Star Wars news.
We do. Star Wars Guided Tours is offering a look at Hollywood studios and exclusive access to attractions and shows, and also reveals information about the upcoming Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. According to Christopher Stewart, general manager of the park operations at Disney's Hollywood Studios, the tour is now offered after guests have requested a more intimate guided excursion through the park. The tour takes up to 42 guests through Star Tours and presents a tour exclusive screening of Star Wars Path of the Jedi, which was made for the park and is only open seasonally to the public. The tour also will give guests front of the line access to character meet and greets at Star Wars Launch Bay and reservations for the park's Star Wars Galaxy Far, Far Away show and its end of the night Star Wars A Galactic Spectacular. But according to the Orlando Sentinel, the most unique portion of the adventure is following Captain Phasma and the Stormtroopers during March of the First Order down Hollywood Boulevard and a reserved area by the stage. Now be sure to wear your favorite sneakers, as this is a 7-hour tour and runs $99 and starts at 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday.
Wow. So basically, so in 2017, as CWK listeners remember, I got to be a part of a media group that went to Walt Disney World and Hollywood Studios to catch the premiere of the Last Jedi version of Star Tours. And it was great. And one of the things that we did for this media event was to go on this Star Wars walking tour. It really didn't take us 7 hours, although it did take a little bit of time, but I think we did an accelerated version. And everything that you mentioned, getting to the front of lines, getting to see the fireworks, sampling the food, going to see all the characters, all that great stuff. It's all there. I mean, basically, this exists now to wet our whistles before we get to experience Batuu and Galaxy's Edge, and to show you what Disney currently has while people are waiting for Galaxy's Edge to open up, because there's a lot of Star Wars in the Hollywood Studios. I will say that being a part of the Captain Phasma March, the March of the First Order, is very thrilling to see everyone taking pictures and you marching behind all these stormtroopers. It's really cool stuff. So it's a fun thing if you get a chance to do it. I don't know how long something like this will exist after Galaxy's Edge opens. So you basically got about 10 months or so of something like this. And what is it, $99? That's not terrible considering all the fun things you get to do. I mean, you get VIP access, you get to wear a nice little badge. And then the guides, you wear an earpiece basically, and they'll tell you all kinds of cool stuff about the theme parks and Disney World and Star Wars while you're going through the event.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I know in the story that I was looking at says that the tour guides carry lightsabers. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true.
And then they said don't lag too far behind because you might lose reception on your earpieces.
That's true. Yes.
So, but exciting that it reveals some information and gives you inside information at this point for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And sounds like a great experience. Now, was your group that size of about 42 when you were with them?
It was just select media people, so there's only probably about 20 of us, 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like a fun event, especially on the build up to Galaxy's Edge. So, how about some celebration news?
How about it?
Yes, how about it? You can see some of the exclusive artwork available for pre-order through March 15th at Dark Art Inc. Art. Sorry, I'll say that again, Dark Inc. Art. These pre-orders are for Celebration attendees only and must be picked up at Star Wars Celebration. If you head to the website, you will see some pretty cool original art from a colorful kaleidoscope, as I would say, hippie style Chewbacca, which is pretty awesome actually, to a very
Yes.
noir style Darth Maul. Have you seen that Chewbacca?
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're. I mean, ever since we had Joe Caroni on last week, and I've been looking at that site trying to see previews of stuff. There's some incredible stuff here.
Oh, that is, it's normally that's not a piece that I would ordinarily look at, but it is so well done and just a
It's very
unique
cool.
look at Chewbacca. But then there's also a silhouette kind of style cantina scene to a beautiful image of Ahsoka with her staff and robe conferring with a giant white wolf titled Guidance from Wolves. The art pieces for the pre-orders range from $40 to $125.
And again, we had Joe Caroni on last week. We're going to have a few more artists who contributed to the Celebration Art Show in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be plenty of cool stuff there for you, but plenty of cool stuff. I mean, Celebration. I mean, are you kidding me? This was with doing that. Everything we're talking about on this episode with Galaxy's Edge, and next week, our cup runneth over. Our Coffee with Kenobi cup runneth over.
Oh man, indeed. And just even though it's a small piece of Celebration, it's just for me again, being the rookie, it's just like one more thing that just excites me. Feels a little overwhelmed that wow, I'm so excited about these pieces here, but how much other stuff is it's gonna be sensory overload for me. So man, I gotta take my vitamins.
Yes, you do.
And I start doing some pull-ups or something to get myself in fit tip-top shape for for those 4 days in Chicago. Finally, Funko is offering Star Wars collectible boxes, and they're available as of this recording, but you better order soon before they sell out. What's that you say? What are the box collections? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
Because there is yeah, you bet. There is a Smuggler's Bounty Endor box, a Sith box, a Rogue One box, a Last Jedi box, and a Solo box. Now, each box has a variety of merchandise, but as an example of what to expect, the Smuggler's Bounty Solo box comes with a Han Solo and Chewbacca 2-pack pop, a Lando Mystery Mini, an Enfys Nest pin, a phaser keychain, and a Mud Trooper snapback hat. These boxes are listed at $25.
And they're wonderful. I mean, they are. Is Amazon the place to go and get them right now currently?
I got that information off of the Funko website.
Okay, yeah, because they used to have of course, the Smuggler's Bounty exclusives. Now Amazon has a bunch of stuff for Funko. Of course, we have an affiliate link on our website. Nice banner. If you want to go and support the show, we'd certainly appreciate that. But Funko, I mean, I think it's safe to say we noticed this on Force Friday years ago. Funko's pretty much taking the collecting world by storm, and it's pretty much the premier collectible in the industry, not just for Star Wars, but popular culture.
Oh yeah, I mean there are tons of them. When you walk into our local Barnes and Noble, Dan, you can find just about anything from pop culture in these Funkos. And I know that our Barnes and Noble, while they've got like 3, 6-foot displays of these, I know that they don't even scratch the surface. And I find them to be quite amusing and fun.
You can get the Jeffersons Funko Pops.
Yeah, I know, right?
They are moving on up.
Indeed, they are. Yeah.
Very good. Well, hey, thank you so much as always for stopping by. We will get you. We're telling you, we'll get you pull-ups or not. We're going to get you ready for Celebration.
Oh boy, can't wait.
Very good. Let's go ahead and take another break, and when we come back, we will close out the show. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is.
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, One Nation Coffee and Mouse Fan Travel. Be sure to support them the way they support our podcast, and remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast, Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, or our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, where you can find some past videos of our CWK Coffee Chat, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and we'd love for you to check us out there. Be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows too, including Legends Library, Resistance Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually, as they all have their own feeds now. In addition to the places I just mentioned for Coffee with Kenobi, you can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Network, as well as on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR, and you can find my writing on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I'm an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute articles on Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. Don't forget to check out www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to help support the show, as well as get access to CWK Pour Over, which is our podcast, our weekly podcast, not heard anywhere else. There are also t-shirts, coffee mugs, and so many more opportunities and ways for you to not only support the show, but get something pretty cool out of it as well.
That's going to do it for Coffee with Kenobi this week. A huge thank you for Clayton Sandell for coming on Coffee with Kenobi and giving us his exclusive report on his very first time to go to Batuu at Disneyland in California. What an amazing thing. This was just part one of the conversation. Next week we'll bring you part two again with more information on the Falcon ride. The Rise of the Resistance attraction is supposed to be out of this world, literally and figuratively. Well, not literally, but it's going to feel that way because of this immersive experience that Disney is cooking up for us. And we're going to talk about the food, lots of other great stuff. I want to also thank Coffee with Kenobi's official coffee sponsor. That would be One Nation Coffee. It's the best tasting coffee in the galaxy. You can go to www.onenationcoffee.com today, enter the code Kenobi10 and get 10% off your first order. I'm telling you, it is the absolute best. They also have coffee subscriptions, and you can bet that I am a frequent coffee drinker of One Nation. Thanks again so much to them. Thanks again to Clayton Sandell and Tom Gross for joining us. We will be back next week with part two of our conversation with Clayton. As I just said a few moments ago, I'm just very excited. I mean, did you hear all this stuff about Galaxy's Edge? Can you believe it? Imagine how you're going to feel when you first see the Millennium Falcon for the first time in Batuu. I cannot wait, and I cannot wait to come back and continue the conversation with each and every one of you. Thank you always for joining us for a cup of coffee. We will see you next time. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.